tried to smuggle a pepperoni pizza into the sauna. Stanley walked into apartment and saw his tenants shaking violently in the middle of the living room. What in the name of? Tripper, are you having a group seizure? Stanley shouted. Jack tried to speak, but his voice came out in a series of staccato bursts. No, Mister. Roper. We're JJ just exercising. Exercising? It looks like you're trying to vibrate through the floor. It's the siren shake. Stanley. Larry shouted over the hum of the machines. Want to try? Stanley looked at the vibrating belts, then at the carrot juice stains on his shirt from the spa. He shrugged and started to unbuckle his belt. Why not? It can't be worse than the mud bath. 5 minutes later, the entire building was humming. Neighbors from downstairs knocked on the walls, and the local news reported a minor localized tremor in Santa Monica. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a long, amber glow over Encroft Avenue, the vibration finally stopped. The trio, the Ropers, and Larry all sat on the floor, dazed and tingling. Well, Helen panted, her hair a wild mess. I don't know if I'm thinner, but I definitely feel moved. I think I've been rearranged. Stanley grunted. As they all laughed together in the fading light, the absurdity of their lives felt like a warm blanket. They were a company of fools, perhaps, but they were a company nonetheless. And in the chaotic heart of the 70s, that was the greatest victory of all. Three's Company, the novelization. Prologue. A rendezvous in Santa Monica. The golden sun of Southern California hung low over the Pacific, casting long, amber shadows across the Santa Monica Pier. It was the mid-1970s, an era of disco, bell-bottoms, and a shifting social landscape that felt both exhilarating and terrifying to those who had grown up in a more rigid time. In a modest but charming apartment building just a few blocks from the beach, the air was filled with the scent of salt spray and the faint, rhythmic sound of a typewriter clacking from an open window. This was the world of apartment 201, a sanctuary of shared rent and platonic chaos. Within its walls lived three unlikely companions, Jonna Wood, the practical and level-headed florist, Chrissy Snow, the bubbly, innocent secretary whose heart was as big as her bangs, and Jack Tripper, a culinary student with a knack for physical comedy and a secret that kept him under the roof. The landlord, Stanley Roper, believed Jack was one of the girls in a way that didn't threaten his traditional sense of morality. But as the evening breeze began to cool the stucco walls of the building, a different kind of tension was brewing downstairs in the landlord's quarters. Chapter 1. The Watchful Eye of Stanley Roper. Stanley Roper was a man of simple needs and complex suspicions. He wore his leisure suits with a certain resigned dignity, and his squint was permanently set to skeptical. In his mind, he was the thin blue line protecting his apartment building from the freaks and weirdos he imagined were crawling through the streets of Los Angeles. "Be quiet, Helen," Stanley hissed, pacing the floral carpet of his living room. "You're gonna wake Karen." Helen Roper, a woman whose vibrant personality was often stifled by her husband's lack of romance, looked up from her emery board. The rasp of her nail file was the only sound in the room until she let out a sharp sigh. "Filing my nails is gonna wake up your niece?" Helen asked, her voice dripping with the practiced sarcasm of 20 years of marriage. "It's not the filing, Stanley, it's the breaking. Every time you break a nail, you swear loud enough to wake the dead." "Oh, so that's what got you up." Stanley ignored the jab, his eyes darting toward the guest room door. "Just hold it down, will you? She flew in from New York and she's tired. You've heard of jet lag, haven't you?" "Heard of it," Helen retorted, standing up and smoothing her caftan. "I married it. You've been in a state of jet lag since 1956. Stanley huffed. His niece, Karen, was his pride and joy, or more accurately, his responsibility. He had promised his brother he would protect her, and in Stanley's lexicon, protection meant isolation. "She's trying to adjust to a new time zone," Stanley insisted. "She's trying to adjust to living the life of a nun," Helen countered. "What's that supposed to mean? You never let her out of your sight. You're more like her jailer than her uncle." Stanley's face reddened. "That's ridiculous. She's having a good time. I've taken her everywhere." "Stanley, you took her to the end of the pier to watch you fish for 3 hours. Then you told her your war stories until she fell asleep standing up. You call it a good time. I promised my brother." Stanley shouted, whispered, "The city is crawling with perverts. I'm doing my duty." Helen rolled her eyes and looked toward the ceiling, toward apartment 201. "Why don't you let her meet the kids upstairs? You know, the Andrews sisters, Patty, Maxine, and Tinkerbell." Stanley paused. He thought of Jack Tripper. To Stanley, Jack was the safest man in California because he believed Jack had no interest in women. A date with Jack would be like sending Karen out in an armored truck. "For once in your life, Helen," Stanley said, a slow, cunning smile spreading across his face, "you've got a smart idea. I'm going to talk to Jack." Chapter 2: The Cake and the Cameo. While Stanley plodded downstairs, life in apartment 201 was revolving around a more pressing matter: Jeanette's birthday. Jack Tripper burst through the door, balancing a white bakery box in one hand and his bicycle helmet in the other. He was breathless, his brow damp from the ride. "I got it," he announced. "The cake. And wait until you see the price." Chrissy hurried over, her eyes wide. "Oh, Jack, is it a surprise? Jeanette's in the kitchen right now." "Keep her there," Jack whispered. He opened the box to reveal a beautiful, slightly lopsided cake. Chrissy squinted at the icing. "Happy birthday, Jimmy?" Jack shrugged. "Some guy named Jimmy didn't pick it up. Half price. Chrissy, I can scrape off the M-E and make it J. It adds an informal touch. Chrissy giggled, but her face soon clouded with worry. Jack, I wish I could have bought her something nice. I got her a scarf, but, well, it's a scarf I can also wear. Practical, right?